Hello, welcome to About Regional. My name's Ian Campbell, reporting at the end of day 2 from the local government assembly that's happening in Canberra. I'm with Bega Valley Shire Councillors Dodds, Bain, Griff and Tapscott to wrap up day 2. First to Mayor Kristy McBain. Big part of the assembly are the motions that get debated. There's 90 odd, probably into 100 motions on the paper. What are some of the motions that were debated today that stand out to you?
One of the big ones for me was one that was put forward by Bega Valley in terms of a review of the roads of strategic importance right across Australia. It's particularly important to us because part of the Princess Highway between Sydney and Melbourne isn't considered a road of strategic importance, which means it doesn't actually attract federal government funding. So even though the motion was slightly amended, we still got it through. Shoalhaven came in behind us with a specific motion that all of the Princess Highway between Sydney and Melbourne be classified as a road of strategic importance, so we got behind that motion as well. And then later in the piece there was a motion from Brisbane City Council that called on the federal government to adequately fund transport infrastructure for local councils to make sure that they're up at a certain level. So we enthusiastically got behind that one as well. So for me, it was the transport related ones that were really key for our community because of the length of road in our shires.
Talk of the Princess Highway and making it a road of national significance has been kicking around for a long time. Are we getting any closer to it and the sort of funding that you want to see for it?
Yeah, look, I think we're seeing some significant investment from the state, New South Wales state government, and they are improving that road corridor. And we've had some work, obviously, in Bateman's Bay, Nowra, Berry. There's some further additional funding that's for Bomaderry and down to Dignam's Creek, and that last patch in our area between sort of Narooma and the Victorian border needs to be worked on. But that's where we need the federal government to come in, because it not only affects us but also our neighbours in Victoria, East Gippsland. So from Sydney to Wollongong, the Princess Highway is a road of strategic importance. From there down to about Bensdale, I believe it's not. From Bensdale on, it is considered one again. So it's a huge chunk that we think is vitally important given the increased freight and also the increased tourist movement on that Sydney to Melbourne coastal drive.
You spoke today with great strength around the idea of decentralisation and getting some government departments out into regional areas. What's the potential you see there for the Bega Valley?
We're part of the greater Canberra region, so what I see is it's not actually a loss to Canberra, it's actually a gain to the region as a whole. And there was some dissent from the floor saying it's just a statement. You've got to start somewhere. It is just a statement, but we actually need to get behind that statement and say it will make a vital difference in an area like ours, because we know that with government investment, private investment will come, and hopefully that will start a change in demographics, a boom in population, a different way of moving forward. It means that kids may have a career path from high school on, because we lose a lot of them at the moment to jobs in the cities, to further education elsewhere. So it's the start of a conversation that we need to be serious about, because decentralisation could make a huge difference in an area like ours.
Councillor Joe Dodds, a whole range of emotions covering a whole range of subjects were debated today. What are the motions that stand out to you?
Well, I was really disappointed to see that Uradala's motion about divestment from fossil fuel industry didn't get up. It was encouraging that there was a lot of debate about it, because at least people are thinking about it. But I think when it devolves to a sort of a competition or a perceived competition between jobs in the coal industry versus the benefits of clean green energy, where we're missing the nuance of the bigger picture. Well, I guess it's not a nuance. The bigger picture says that there will be jobs in the new sector should we invest properly in the research and development and the production, as well as the installation and the maintenance of cleaner technologies like wind and solar. So where it's working well, the jobs aren't an issue. It's just that it's that transition from the old ways of working to the new. And I think we need to respect that those towns that have had a long reliance on coal and the related industries need a hand. They need us to support them, not to threaten them with change that's happening too fast. So I absolutely do support that they need a hand up in retraining the people who worked in that industry, but at the same time, it is so urgent that we stop producing the fossil fuels. So having experienced a fire in Tathra that I believe to be climate change related, I cannot stress enough the urgency of getting some action on the reduction of CO2 emissions, and that's one way to do it, is to divest from those industries and reinvest. It's not just about divestment, it's reinvestment in those industries that are going to take us into the new future in terms of both jobs and reduction of emissions.
It really was the only talk of climate change on the agenda today. That's a frustration for you.
Huge frustration. And also, of course, was the question that I raised with Bill Shorten, because in his whole speech to us, talking about our sector and the things that will impact us, it was great to hear about the challenge of dealing with recyclables and getting the plastics out of our ocean. But the thing that's going to have the biggest impact on our communities, on our assets, on our people, is going to be climate change in its many varied forms, whether it's just the slow, not so slow sometimes, rising sea levels or the hot, hard events that take lives like bushfires.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Cathy, Griff, waste recycling is a big theme for the Assembly, a passion of yours.
It is, but I was going to say also, Ian, it was a great day to be from the Bega Valley Shire today because we had quite a few motions. We got them all through. And while I share Councillor Dodds' concern that really environment didn't get much of a look in, or climate change, we did get a motion up together with Liverpool that had some agreement about setting renewable energy targets equivalent or along the lines of what is existing in the ACT. And where we're standing now, they've got renewable energy targets of 100% by 2020, and they're going to meet them. I mean, it's actually a success story, and we're standing in it. The other thing we're standing in is a lot of plastic and waste. It was a theme throughout, mentioned all over the place. There was also a breakout session on it. I think that there was a lot of ideas thrown around and a lot of people looking for solutions, but I guess there isn't that much about how you reduce it at source and the need for a completely radical rethink. But in our Shire, where we're going to be introducing FOGO, that's a really big step and a rethink. And I think that we're going to have to help train, the kids, and we've been doing that, going to primary schools and seeing how the children often get this message, that we are going to have to go to the supermarkets, to the airlines, to the industries, and be giving the message that we can't deal with this amount of packaging, plastic, and we can start that in our Shire and it will infiltrate, but really radical change is needed because the numbers, the amounts, the sheer amounts are just mind-blowing of what we are producing and having to deal with. So everyone's talking about the China issue, that China's not accepting any foreign waste anymore, but as our very excellent staff waste team say, that's an actual opportunity for us to deal with it locally, and that's what I think we'll be starting to do.
Councillor Sharon, Tapscott's been a big couple of days. There's one more day to go. I think we're all a bit wired with the information that and the speakers that we've seen today. What stands out to you so far?
I suppose what stands out to me is the process, really. You've got that many people in that room with that many motions that need to be voted on and debated, and it ran fairly seamlessly. We had motions that we put up. There were motions that didn't affect us at all about water in the Murray-Darling. I was really pleased to see that there was some motions got up that involved, that had a health dynamic attached to it, particularly mental health. A lot of people don't think that's our purview, but we should be advocating for better health standards within our communities, particularly the ageing communities. That came out. But I thought the process of watching how somebody who knows how to move a meeting along and how to get the best out of the people and the decisions, it's really worth watching, And as I say, there was a lot of those motions didn't affect us, but it was good to see the debate on them, and a lot did, and we're quite pleased with the ones that were passed. I don't think there was anything there that we really were against. We were a bit saddened by one that didn't get up. That was to do with
divestment, I think.
The divestment. But we could do that at our local level.
Definitely. Affordable housing, there was a lot on
Yeah, there was a
affordable
lot on
housing
that. Yeah,
passed.
that was good.
It's been a big day, another day tomorrow, and Mayor Kristy McBain, you're one of the speakers tomorrow. Is that a sleepless night for you? What's on the agenda tomorrow?
There's a panel of 5 mayors tomorrow discussing what the ALGA priorities are going towards the next election, and I guess the 5 mayors on the panel are bringing that down to a local level. So what those ALGA priorities actually mean on the ground for us. I note that we've got the Mayor of Torres Shire, which is up in the Thursday Island group. There's myself, the Lord Mayor of Adelaide, the Lord Mayor of Melbourne, and also the Mayor of Maribyrnong. So I think one thing that we will provide is probably that real regional, rural bent on things. I know Torres Island Shire will have also a particular bent on it, but it was really interesting in the conference today when we had Senator Bridget McKenzie, who's the Minister for Regional Communications, Rural Health and Sport, and she said, who's here from a rural or regional shire? And 90% of the room put their hand up. And to me, that was the big indicator that rural and regional councils have to come to these events because it's us who are shaping the policy for ALGA. Our metropolitan counterparts probably get more time with politicians, and there may be easy wins for those metropolitan areas. It's harder for us to get the big spends sometimes. So it's really great to be here and actually shaping that ALGA agenda going into the next federal election.
There's your wrap-up of Day 2 from the Australian Local Government Assembly happening here in Canberra, hosted by the Australian Local Government Association. Thanks for tuning into About Regional. My name's Ian Campbell. We'll talk again soon. Cheers.